Record Store Nation, welcome back to the Record Store. One of my favorite things to do on a monthly basis is recording, talking about music. I could talk about music. I could probably do this show if I didn't have what does Brian call it, a shoot job? If I didn't have a shoot job, I would do this show at least weekly because I just enjoy talking about music, talking about these albums, talking about these artists. It's just so much fun, and it is such a huge part of my life. So welcome back to the Record Store. This is episode 61 of the Record Store. You know the concept. We really just randomly grab an album from the enormous wall of CDs, which is getting so big, I've annexed another dresser to start stacking CDs on. So yeah, it's in the thousands of CDs. So randomly grab one, rarely throw it back. Once in a while there'll be a greatest hits or it'll be a band that we just did recently, so I'll throw that back. But for the most part, just randomly grab an album. It could be something that I listened to recently and it's a new band. Could be something from I don't think I have any 50s, but 60s for sure. I got Beatles stuff and Stone stuff for sure. Could be something from as far back as the 60s. Could be something from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Shout out to John McAdam. And just talk about that album. And it could be something that I've never listened to because Lord knows I've got so many CDs. There's times where I just did not listen to it, or maybe just listened to it once back in the day and that was it. So I review it, talk about the artist, talk about whether it's as good as I thought it was back in the day and as good as I thought it was in order to justify buying it. I am into physical media. I don't care. You kids these days with your downloads and your streaming, whatever. But I like the physical media. So one of these days, these will all get passed on to my kids and hopefully make a fortune for them. Who knows? Including the autograph stuff that I've got. So the autographed, my prized possession, I'm just going to reveal it here, is Tusk, an original vinyl version of Tusk from 1980, signed by Lindsey Buckingham. So that is my prized possession in terms of autographs. You can read about this in the book. It's called All the Right Notes. You can find it on Amazon.com. I've met many other artists. Don't have a bazillion autographs on things, but that one, when I was lucky enough to get into a meet and greet with Lindsey Buckingham, I've got Tusk and Rumors, for that matter. I've got both of them signed by him. So actually, now that I think about it, Rumors is probably more valuable than Tusk. But I've got both of those signed by Lindsey, and that is definitely my prized possession in terms of physical media, and vinyl too, not CDs. So anyway, let us get to the album of choice today. It is called Simple Dreams. It is by one Linda Ronstadt. I've done Lady Gaga on here before, and I've done artists that you probably wouldn't think that I would be a fan of, being that I'm so much into the rock and the roll, both types. But Linda Ronstadt was definitely a crush at the time. This album came out in 1977. That puts me at 15. There you go. Do the math. Figure it out for yourself. So I definitely had a crush on Linda Ronstadt, but that doesn't negate the fact that her voice was breathtaking, and her voice has always been just an incredible instrument to me. I say don't penalize the artist because they're beautiful, So Linda Ronstadt, now 78, has sadly had a lot of health problems and has not recorded anything or toured or performed live in many years. So, but some backstory on Linda Ronstadt. Like I said, incredible, just an incredible voice. She's won 11 Grammys. She won the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016, went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014. She has 24, by most counts, 24 studio albums. Some of them there's collaboration albums that she did too. But as far as her, 24 studio albums. This is mind-blowing, 38 top 100 singles from Linda Ronstadt. Just incredible. She's of Mexican and German descent. She's recorded a lot of Mexican and Latin music. But for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's her looks or whatever, but there's just something about her that stands out, that does not stand out as being a Latin American person. I would say the German, I would believe, over the Mexican. But anyway, Mexican and German descent. Her grandfather, this is fascinating, her grandfather's name was Lloyd Copeman. He invented the toaster. He invented an early form of the microwave oven, and he invented ice cube trays. So their family was loaded because, I mean, obviously this was in whatever, the 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. But this guy invented so many cool things that are everyday part of our world, so their family was loaded. So Linda had that luxury of starting out, with a silver spoon perhaps. So, but she started out in music in the late 60s. Her band was called the Stone Ponies. They were a folk and country rock type band, like a Poco-ish type band back then. They somehow managed to start opening for the Doors, Neil Young, Jackson Browne. And she became, part of that scene and part of that world. So she eventually became known as the Queen of Rock in the 70s. The 80s saw her go a completely different route. She started working on Broadway. She started getting further away from rock music and, frankly and sadly, further away from me, because I really enjoyed that aspect of her career. She toured with the Eagles in '71. They worked together. As you probably can think, they both did amazing versions of the song Desperado. So a couple other fascinating things that I found out about Linda on this is that she only wrote 3 songs during her whole recording career. 24 studio albums and all those hit songs, and she literally only wrote 3 songs. So very cool that she picked the right writers to take songs from and have songs written for her. So obviously a strong crossover with her with rock and with country fans. I think that Linda was definitely a pioneer of getting women to be treated as equals in rock. She stood up for herself constantly. By 1980, that was when she started veering into the other things like opera, traditional Mexican music, and she just lost me, because that wasn't the kind of music that I was into. What it very much reminds me of is the great Chrissie Hynde, who is my absolute idol in terms of females in rock music. Chrissie Hynde is the badass in terms of females in rock, and she is the complement to my Tom Petty as far as heroes in rock. So Chrissie Hynde, not too long ago, did a jazz album, and I never got it because I'm just not a jazz fan. As much as I love Chrissie Hynde, and I've loved her solo music, and I've loved, obviously, the stuff with the Pretenders, I just had no interest in listening to the great Chrissie Hynde do jazz. So maybe someday somebody might give me that album or whatever, and I'll check it out, but I just don't have any desire. So it's very similar when Linda Ronstadt veered into the traditional Mexican stuff, the opera. Beautiful voice, no doubt, but just not my type of music. So, but interestingly, her success continued. So just with a different and a new audience altogether. In 2004, ironically, Linda also did a jazz album. She's done Latin music. She's done movie soundtracks. So she's had a very diverse career. And most of the success that she's had continued, just like I said, with a different audience altogether. I don't know that you could call her the Queen of Rock anymore because all that she's done has been all over the place in terms of genres. So she recorded her last album in 2006. That was her final tour as well. Her health has deteriorated. She was diagnosed with something called supranuclear palsy, which essentially has weakened her to the point where she's lost her voice and she cannot record any further, which is really sad because it's ironic in the sense that one of the greatest musical voices of all time has lost that due to her health issues. So, but we're not gonna dwell on the negative. So she sold over 30 million albums in the U.S., won over 100 million worldwide. So very cool and very much appreciated. Like I said, I mean, she was such a smart marketer. And just following her heart and following her desire in terms of wanting to do other types of music. She could have been the rock/country girl well into her career, but she had the desire to go in other directions, and she did it, and she did it well. And although it's not my cup of tea for her to do opera or Broadway, other people loved it, and it continued her amazing career, and it continued her great record sales too. So, and then let's talk about her love life. So she dated California Governor Jerry Brown. She dated Jim Carrey. I don't know if anybody remembers that one. And also, high profile, she dated George Lucas, so from Star Wars fame. So she never married. She had adopted 2 kids and raised them, obviously. She's so outspoken, never afraid to reveal her opinions on politics, on war, on immigration, since she took that very very much to heart her Mexican heritage. Talked about the environment, always going out on a limb on the environment and the arts too, and making sure that the arts are funded and continue on. So anyway, that's her backstory. Let's talk about Simple Dreams. Came out in 1977. It was her 9th album. It is full of hits, and you will see. It is the best-selling album of her career. It spent 5 weeks at number 1. Ironically, it knocked Rumors out after 29 weeks, a record 29 weeks of Rumors being at number 1. So it was Simple Dreams that knocked it out. So ironic for me, because obviously Fleetwood Mac is my band. So she was the first act since the Beatles at that time to have 2 top 5 hits at the same time. So she had from this album Blue Bayou and It's So Easy. The critics loved this album. They loved Simple Dreams. Most of the reviews that I saw gave it 4 and 5 stars. The album is a who's who of LA studio musicians. Waddy Wachtel, who's been associated with her and with more so, I would say, with Stevie Nicks. He's been the musical director of the Stevie Nicks act, solo act, and tours for many, many years. Peter Asher was on the album, also produced it, well-known LA producer. Don Henley's on here, J.D. Souther is on here. Dolly Parton's on here. I don't consider her obviously an LA musician, but just the fact that she's on here is pretty cool. Simple Dreams hit number 1 not only in the U.S., but on the U.S. country charts in Canada and in Australia. Hit number 38 in Japan, hit number 15 in the United Kingdom. So it sold 3 million in the U.S. The version I grabbed, I had it on vinyl. I'm sure I have it still somewhere in the basement on vinyl. But the version I'm talking about today was released in 2017. It was a reissue. It had 3 live bonus tracks. It also had liner notes by Peter Asher, so very cool. And it had the lyrics, so I was very happy about that. So it is 13 tracks long with those 3 bonus songs and 44 minutes long. So without that, it was only just over half an hour. So they were recording quickies back in the day. So anyway, all right, let's get started. So the first song is It's So Easy. It starts out super right away. It starts out with a great hit. It's a Buddy Holly song. It's So Easy. You know this song. It's a Buddy Holly hit that actually flopped for him, but it hit for Linda. So the song, believe it or not, It's So Easy was written in 1958. So damn near 70 years ago this song was written. And it is, let me see, doing the math, 60 plus, let's just go that far. So It's So Easy, written so long ago, but it hit 20 years later for Linda. So it still worked, and to this day, it's a great, great pop rock song. So it's just so catchy, so fun. Linda sounds so good. The production on this is amazing. The harmonies are great. Everything about It's So Easy is just perfect. So I think to me it symbolized the fun of California rock in the 70s. So just an excellent, simple pop song and a hell of a way to start this album. So It's So Easy on the first track. So second track is a song called Carmelita. It's a Warren Zevon song. Like I said, she wrote hardly any music or any songs in her entire career. So Carmelita, Warren Zevon song, very country-ish. You can definitely hear the dark humor of Warren Zevon on this, so it's offset by Linda's beautiful voice, so which I'm going to reference that a couple times here. So she's singing about selling her Smith & Wesson. She's singing about hanging out at Pioneer Chicken on Alvarado Street and how she can't get any more methadone. Or she's singing about how Warren Zevon can't get any more methadone and hanging out at the chicken place. So it's just a quirky, dark comedy country song. It's even more ironic as it's sung so beautifully by her with that voice. So I just enjoyed Carmelita. There's another Warren Zevon collaboration coming up pretty soon on this album that is way more famous than Carmelita. But Carmelita, also a great track in the second spot. So, all right, we're at the halfway point. We are going to take a break. We're going to pay some sponsors. We're going to see what they're offering. What kind of wares are they offering today? And we'll be right back with the second half of Simple Dreams by Linda Ronstadt at the record.
You folks know I like to take a minute to talk about my old buddy Sleazy. Well, he's got a good show coming up Saturday, September the 28th at the Dedicated Visual Art Studio. That's right, North Little Rock, Arkansas. This is the first time that they've brought the ring dedicated to wrestling. Sleazy Wrestling tickets is $10. Festival start at 4 p.m. Bell time for wrestling, well, it's 7 p.m. They have a live music. They have food. They have some tamales. It's going to be a fun time, guys. Make sure you bring your own chair. Sleazy will be there. Zay Washington, Buddy Badcock, Austin Rothschild, Cody Murdoch, Triple J, and many, many, many more. Tag team action, hardcore action, huge, huge card. Did I tell you delicious tamales for sale? Music, I said the show starts at 4. The music starts at 4. Be there. That's right, I said be there. September the 28th, dedicated visual art studio in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Love my mama. Love me some Sleazy.
All right, welcome back, Record Store Nation. We are covering the album Simple Dreams by Linda Ronstadt. Again, this is an artist you may think that, what the hell? He's done, UFO albums and Tom Petty and all these great rock bands, Guns N' Roses. Why is he doing Linda Ronstadt? Well, Linda Ronstadt is an amazing voice, an amazing career, and just I've always loved her voice. I'll admit, first it started with a crush on her because she was beautiful. But right away recognized the greatness of her voice and the greatness of her music. And while I'm not what I would not consider myself a huge country fan, I can tolerate country. And when one of the artists that I love wants to branch out, Lindsey Buckingham has done a lot of country-ish sounding stuff in his solo career. Lady Gaga, the album that I talked about, that was known as her country album, as it were, which I didn't agree with, but when I love an artist's voice and an artist's music, I will definitely listen to the country stuff that they decide to do because they want to branch out and do different types of materials and different genres. So that was something, like I said, Linda Ronstadt for the first, say, maybe 15 years or so of her career was totally rock country. That was the vibe until she started getting into the other stuff like the Broadway and the Latin music and so on that just didn't interest me. So, but anyway, Simple Dreams was right from the heart of that era, and it was some of her greatest stuff. So let's get back to the album. So third track on the album is called Simple Man, Simple Dream. Was written by J.D. Souther. Definitely another country feeling song. Very low-key song. Very soft start to it. Very much just her singing. There's really not much to this song. This is a real throwback, but the music feels like either the Barney Miller theme or like maybe the Hill Street Blues theme. Just very, very low-key. This song was kind of meh for me, the Simple Man, Simple Dream. Not much to it, despite her voice. Her voice just makes everything sound better. So, but Simple Man, Simple Dream, not much to it in the third slot. All right, fourth song is called Sorrow Lives Here. Was written by one Eric Kaz, K-A-Z. Never heard of the guy. Did not remember this guy. I'm thinking, was he like a secondary player in some band that she worked with or something? So I had to look it up. Eric Kaz. He was never a star himself, but he was primarily a songwriter. Wrote many songs for many famous people. Bonnie Raitt, Tanya Tucker, Kim Carnes, Kenny Rogers, and Don Johnson. I saw that name on there on the list of people he wrote songs for. So Eric Kaz wrote for Don Johnson. Heartbeat, I think, was the name of the album, the Don Johnson album. And yes, I freaking have that vinyl somewhere in the collection. So Don Johnson, I guarantee you that would cost a fortune to try to find that today. So Don Johnson from Miami Vice. So anyway, all right, the song Sorrow Lives Here, written by Eric Kaz. It's a piano ballad. It's a complete downer. You can pretty much tell from the title. It's called Sorrow Lives Here, so you could pretty much tell it's going to be a downer. It's not exactly going to be an uplifting tune. So anyway, but Linda sounds great. She's really belting it out here. I think this is where it's songs like this where her voice just really is so powerful. Sorrow Lives Here has a very Carole King kind of feel to it. It's a song about her being torn between two men, which is weird that Eric Kaz wrote it, but maybe he wrote it for her, whatever. Or he wrote it for himself, being torn between two men, who knows? Not that there's anything wrong. So torn between two men, and still neither one of them works out for her. So it's a really powerful song. Just again, there's something about the strength of Linda Ronstadt's voice that just makes so many of these songs so special. So Sorrow Lives Here is the fourth song. Fifth song, I Never Will Marry. Songwriter here is listed as, quote, traditional. There's no name listed. It just says traditional. So I'm like, huh? What does that mean? I'm sure there's people that understand that right off the bat, what traditional means. So I had to look it up. I'm thinking it's an old song that has no history or something. So anyway, it's a song that is learned informally within the context of family or community, is what the definition of it is. So I guess traditional just means it's a song that was never officially traced back to a writer. It was just passed down from generation to generation, and so there is no official name associated with it. So that is what traditional means. So I Never Will Marry is listed as traditional. This is the song that Dolly Parton appears on. She sings harmony. Totally can hear it. The singing on this, Linda is sad that her man has left her. He's left on the morning train. It's totally a country song. I mean, it just adds to it that Dolly Parton is on here. So there's a layer of bitterness in that with him gone, she has no interest in ever getting married again. Will never change her mind. Hence the name of the song, I Never Will Marry. So it's a very pretty vocal, for sure, despite the resignation in her as far as never wanting to get married again because this bastard left her. So, but I Never Will Marry, just a very good traditional country song, and no pun intended on traditional. So, all right, then we get into the hits here, in addition to the first song. So the sixth song is Blue Bayou, very well-known song, one of the highlights on the album for sure. It's a Roy Orbison song. Again, damn near 60 years old, or over 60 years old. It was a huge hit for Linda. Starts out very low-key with her and the bass line. You know that bass line right away. And then she starts singing it very low-key. But then again, she starts belting it out, and the voice just comes in so powerfully. Her voice sounds amazing here. The chorus just sounds amazing here. She goes high energy and then brings it back down again. So I like the kind of tempo changes. This song just demonstrates how versatile Linda Ronstadt was. She's still alive, so we'll say she is. The notes that she holds at the end of the song are stunning. You know, people talk about Mariah Carey and her range, and I don't understand any of that stuff. I don't know what a falsetto from a bass or whatever, but I don't care. I know what sounds good. And Linda Ronstadt demonstrates the range of her voice on Blue Bayou just amazingly. So just a highlight of this album, highlight of her career on any greatest hits album that she's ever done. So, and then we go right from Blue Bayou to seventh track, which is Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me. Another huge hit for her. It's another Warren Zevon song. The beat made immediately recognizable, instantly recognizable the minute this song comes on. So it's a fun, rollicking song, great beat, great California sound to it. Also, as far as I'm aware, marks the only time a wearing blender is mentioned in a song lyric. So I could be wrong on that, but I'm going to go on record and say I think that Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me features a wearing blender. So I wonder if anybody got royalties for that or anybody had to pay. Did they have to pay wearing blender to use it in that song? It's fun, weird lyrics. Again, what I really like is it's a nice contrast to have those weird lyrics from Warren Zevon to contrast with Linda's beautiful booming voice, you know. Just a huge hit for her. And also, little known appreciation. It's a really good guitar outro on this song. Like the guitar finish of Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me is just fantastic. So excellent song at number 7. Eighth song is called Maybe I'm Right. It was written by Waddy Wachtel, or Robert Wachtel, as it says on the credits. So Waddy Wachtel wrote this song. I've never seen his name on any other writing credits ever. I'm sure he's written some other songs, probably even for Stevie, but I've never seen his name on anything that I can recall. So Maybe I'm Right is an acoustic ballad. It's a song about a man who has left her. That seems to be a theme. But she still has feelings for him. She still cares about him. She's worried sick about him because she just she's just pining for this guy and he's no longer in her life. So I honestly, listening to this vulnerability in her voice on this one, you actually feel sorry for Linda on this, the way she's singing this song, because she still carries a torch for this guy. and cares about him so much, but he's out of her life. So just a really beautiful song. Maybe I'm right in the number 8 spot. And then we have the other big hit. At the 9th spot, it's Tumbling Dice. It's the Rolling Stones song. Immediately great, like honky-tonk piano open to this song. Just fantastic. I just love this. Her and that amazing voice of hers taking on the gritty, grungy lyrics of Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. So I love the juxtaposition of that. It's another excellent choice on her part of covering this song. Again, having her voice with their dirty, gritty material just makes for an amazing song. So this, to me, Tumbling Dice, when this came out, this is probably what got people saying she's the queen of rock. I think that Stevie Nicks also makes a claim to that. Probably Chrissie Hynde could make a claim to that title. In fact, I even remember a Rolling Stone cover where they called Stevie the queen of rock. So, but they also, many other, magazines and media outlets called Linda the queen of rock. So I think probably in 1977 when this came out, this probably was one of the songs that spawned that moniker for her, the queen of rock, for Linda Ronstadt. So, all right, 9th song was Tumbling Dice. 10th song, and the close of the actual album, the original album, 10th song is called Old Paint. And guess what? Traditional. So another one of those songs that just gets passed down from generation to generation around a campfire or something, and it goes to Linda Ronstadt at this point. So Old Paint, she plays guitar here too, which I don't remember seeing that often in the credits, so you didn't see that very often, but she plays some acoustic guitar here. This song is about horses and about the cowboy lifestyle, so therefore I get it, but I don't, relate to it. As a city slicker that I am from Chicago, I don't really relate to the horses and the cowboy lifestyle, but it's another pure country song. Just a very pretty song, Old Paint, an homage to horses and cowboys and stuff like that. So very pretty song to end the actual proper album. So, and then we get into the bonus tracks. I'm going to do the bonus tracks here rather than on Patreon. That concept could happen, I guess, but I'm just going to cover it since it is a reissue, and they added, anytime they do these reissues, like Tears for Fears and Rush are famous for these things, and Elton John too, for that matter, where they'll reissue the album from 1992, and then it'll come out in like a 7-disc format where they find all these outtakes and live recordings and things like that to make it enormous and cost you $100 or whatever. I don't care about the money. I actually care way more about the material. So I would definitely buy, for a band that I love, like Tears for Fears, I have bought some of those things, where a single album, like Songs from the Big Chair, is turned into like a 7-disc release, and I have to have it because I want to know what's on those other 6 discs. I need to have the live stuff. I need to have the outtakes, the demos. I need all that stuff. So I've bought many of those things from Elton John off the top of my head. Elton John, Fleetwood Mac, obviously, and Tears for Fears are the one, and Rush too. Rush were the masters of coming out with various versions of original stuff that they did, like the 8-disc version of 2112 and stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. Back to Simple Dreams. The 11th track is the first of the live tracks on here. It's So Easy. She basically she didn't do it. I'm assuming Peter Asher probably put this together, probably with her collaboration though. So they took the three biggest hits from this album, and they released live versions of it at the tail end of this for this reissue in 2017. So It's So Easy is the first one. It's a little more rocked up. Linda actually sounds a little bit raspy on this, which sounds amazing. Her voice is so good. I like that element of raspiness on this concert recording. The guitar is a little heavier on It's So Easy on the live version. Interestingly, too, it's kind of slower. It's a little bit slower than the studio version, and yet more rocking. So it's an interesting contrast. And again, they just basically took the 3 biggest hits from this album, found 3 live versions of it from this era, and added them to the tail end of this. So it's a win for me, because I love hearing Linda Ronstadt, and I love hearing, especially from that rock/country era. So I enjoyed enormously the It's So Easy live version. Wish I had the opportunity of seeing her live back in the day. So, all right, 12th song is Blue Bayou. They totally mixed it differently in this sense. They mixed it so the audience is completely out as the song begins. You can hear that it's definitely a different version of the song, but you don't hear the audience reaction at all. You don't hear any clapping or anything like you heard on It's So Easy, both at the beginning and at the end. So the opening bass line of Blue Bayou is so prominent and so like recognizable that I think there would have been a huge immediate reaction from the audience, and you don't hear any reaction whatsoever. So I think they purposely mixed that out just to get it started where it's just, her beautiful voice coming in. They duplicate the studio perfection of the song. It sounds, the instruments sound great. She sounds amazing. She breaks at the break of the song, in the middle of the song where it breaks. She then resumes the song in Spanish, and she did record a Spanish version of it as well that did very well on the charts. And then they mix in the audience at the very end. So she does the song, starts it in English, finishes it in Spanish, and then the audience comes in at the end and, of course, goes crazy for that song because it's one of her biggest hits. So it sounds really great. Blue Bayou, a little bit different version of it as she adds the Spanish lyrics at the end. So, and then the final song, 13th song on the album, it's Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me. It sounds exactly like the original. A little more guitar theatrics, I would say. A little bit more prominent background vocals, too. The crowd goes nuts at the finish. As I was listening to it and wrapping up the song and the album, it came across as probably the last song of the set on that concert, that tour, that concert, performance. Just there was something about the way the audience reacted, and it seems like it would be a great song to close a set with. So, Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me, an excellent version of it as the final song on the album. So, here's what I will say. I didn't remember Linda Ronstadt being as country as this album demonstrated to me listening to it now with a fresh set of ears in 2024. But I will say, and I've always considered this, she is on my Mount Rushmore of female singers. She is just, her voice is amazing. Even though the last, 20 years or so of her career was recording music that I really wasn't my thing. The power of those 15 years or so where she did primarily country and rock type stuff, just amazing. And just the versatility of her voice going back and forth between rock and country, just amazing. So Linda Ronstadt, again, on my Mount Rushmore of female singers. Not on my Mount Rushmore overall, but definitely on my female Mount Rushmore for sure. I would have preferred, for selfish purposes, I would have preferred she stuck with country and rock, but I give her a lot of credit for branching out. I give her a lot of credit for following her heart and marketing it correctly, too, because, like I said, she wanted to do other types of things. She wanted to do the opera and the Broadway and stuff, and she pulled it off. And not only did she pull it off, if it bombed and it didn't do well and the critics hated it, then that would be, whatever. It'd be cool that she tried it. But at some point, she probably would have gone back to rock because that's where she knew she was, the queen. But she kept doing it and sticking with it and her perseverance, and she did it all well, and to the point where critics loved her stuff, loved the other stuff, loved the Latin music that she did, and it sold well too. So just more props to her for the fact that she went with her heart and wanted to do different things, and she basically made every style hers. She tried, and there was, I'm sure at the time there was probably resentment because people probably thought of her as not being part of the Latin music community or whatever, or, whatever community she wanted to branch into, Broadway, opera, whatever. I'm sure at the time, I don't remember this because I was too little and not paying attention. I just thought she was cute. But no, I'm sure there was resentment because they thought, oh, who is this broad? She thinks she's so hot shit. And she, just because she can do rock, she thinks she can do opera. She did. She made it her own, and she did it well. And again, she sold tons of records after that. She sold, a million, whatever, 300, whatever it was, 30 million, 100 million worldwide. She sold so many records because she was just so good at everything she tried, everything she threw her attention to. and she was determined to make it hers, and she did. So hopefully this sounds more like an appreciation and not a tribute, because it's just sad that she hasn't recorded in so long, and that she can't tour. Definitely one of my great regrets, never having gotten to see her live. So I know there's some live concert stuff out there, but never getting to see her live in that little Boy Scout uniform that she would wear in concert sometimes, like sort of like Angus Young with his schoolboy outfit, I guess. So, but anyway, Linda Ronstadt, one of my absolute favorites in terms of vocals. So, and Simple Dreams, a very good album. So I hope you can check it out. Definitely worth getting for the live versions that are at the end of it. So, all right, that is it for this episode of The Record Store. Thank you to Brian for producing. Thank you to you guys for listening. And thank you to Linda Ronstadt for an amazing career of just epic vocalizing and epic songs that she never wrote, as it were. She just picked the right things to record all of the time. She never had a misstep as far as that goes. So, what was it, like 34 top 100 singles, something like that? Just an amazing career, amazing accomplishments, and well-deserved in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's it for this episode of The Record Store. Join us next month. If you're a Patreon, stick with us. You'll get to find out what is my favorite song in this album, and this one was a tough one for sure. So you'll get to hear what the favorite song is, and we will see you next month with another episode of The Record Store. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.